Good morning, everybody. Good morning, students. My name is Satengo Cecilia. I'm here to take you on a course, Introduction to Montessori. Introduction to Montessori, EPM 123. Before I commence in this lecture, I want to give you an assignment which you will be submitting to my email address. Please write it down. My email address, setengozicecilia@gmail.com. setengozicecilia@gmail.com. Setengozi, I spell SETENGOZI. Cecilia, CECILIA @gmail.com. Number one assignment, state clearly the essential elements of Montessori education. State clearly the essential elements of Montessori education. That is number one. And number two, define Montessori education. Define Montessori education. I hope you get my questions. So let's move to the teaching of today. Montessori education. The meaning of Montessori education. What is Montessori education? Montessori education is a child-centric education method that includes child-oriented activities, classrooms with children of different age groups, and educator who inspires freedom among their learners. I repeat, Montessori education is a child-centric education method that includes child-oriented activities, classrooms with different children of different age groups, and educator who inspires freedom among their learners. Montessori education is an education method that gives freedom to learners. It is an education method that gives freedom to learners. That means the learners are not under the street. They are not under street learning environment. They are not under street learning environment. The children, that is the learners, are free to learn. They don't have any fear for anything. The teachers are free to teach them and they're free to learn. I hope we get the meaning of Montessori education. The Montessori method views the child as the one who is naturally eager for knowledge. Montessori method views the child as the one who is naturally eager for knowledge and capable of initiating learning in a supportive, colorfully prepared learning environment. That means a child under Montessori is considered as a child that has interest, that has the eagerness, and that have the capability to learn. Child is given every support, the child will be able to learn so easily. So Montessori method view the child as the one who is naturally eager for knowledge. He wants to learn and is capable of initiating learning in a supportive, thoroughly prepared learning environment. That means the environment for the Montessori is well prepared for effective transmission of learning. It attempts to develop children physically. Education attempts to develop children physically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively. So it attempts to develop the children physically, not only physically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively. That is Montessori education. It wants to develop all-round development of a child, both physically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively. Then we move to the elements of an essential Montessori education. Essential elements of Montessori education, the subheading. Essential elements of Montessori education. Essential elements of Montessori education. I hope Montessori education definition is clear to every one of us. Before we move to essential elements of Montessori education. Essential elements of Montessori education. 1. Mixed age classrooms. Mixed age classrooms. In the classroom of a school operating Montessori method has mixed age classroom. That is, the classroom has children for different ages. In the same class, you might have a child that is 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years, even to 6 years. So it has a mixed age classroom. Different ages of children are found in one particular classroom. Why? So that the smaller children can easily learn from the older ones. Number 2, essential elements of Montessori education. Student choice of activity from within is prescribed. They have choice of activities. Let me repeat. Number 2, student choice of activity from within is prescribed. That means they have their own choice of activity. We say that the children learn under free environment. Free, they're not under any strict learning environment. They are in a free learning environment, so they have choice to choose any they want to explore. Number 3, essential elements of Montessori education. Uninterrupted blocks of work time. Ideally 3 hours. Uninterrupted blocks of work time. Ideally 3 hours. That means once they start their work, no interruption. Nothing like interruption. Nothing like you move to another place talking. As we can see in most schools, the teachers will move to another place discussing and leave the children. Once it is that period, no interruption of any kind. Number 4, element of Montessori education: discovery model. Discovery model. They apply discovery model. That means the learners are being left with the choice of the activities which they want to explore. As they continue to explore in that activity, they discover more things. We can even notice it in the life of the children we have at home. For some of us that have the privilege to have children around us, you will see them playing with things, but you never know that they're discovering things that you, the adults, might not even discover. So there is privilege to discover things in Montessori education. Number 5 elements of Montessori education: specialized educational materials developed by Montessori and her collaborators. Specialized educational materials developed by Montessori and her collaborators. Such materials are from wood, some are from plastic, some are from natural things. So these are the materials they make use in the Montessori schools. Some are of wood, some of plastic, some are of natural things. Number 6, a thoroughly prepared environment where materials are organized by subject area within the reach of the child and are appropriate in size. I repeat, another element is that a thoroughly prepared environment. A thoroughly prepared environment where materials are organized by subject area within the reach of the child and are appropriate in size. There is a thoroughly prepared materials by the teachers. According to the subjects, they are thoroughly prepared and arranged, and it is placed in a place that the child can have access to them, and they are according to the size of the children. The next is freedom within limits. The next essential element of Montessori education: freedom within limits. Freedom within limits. That is, the learners have freedom, but this freedom is limited. Not that they are given the freedom to play anyhow in the school environment. The freedom is limited. That means the teachers are there to guide them. Because if anything happens, the parents will query. So the freedom they have is within limits. They are being guided by the trained teachers. And the next element, essential element of Montessori education: a trained Montessori teacher. A trained Montessori teacher who follows the child and is highly experienced. The teacher is highly experienced in observing the individual child's characteristics, tendencies, their talents, and abilities. I repeat, a trained Montessori teacher. a trained Montessori teacher who follows the child and is highly experienced in observing the individual child characteristics, tendencies, talents, and abilities. A teacher is well trained to handle these children. They teach, they follow, they monitor, they observe them and discover the talents, the abilities, the interests of these children. They are well trained. I hope it's well understood. So these are the essential elements of Montessori education. These are the essential elements of Montessori education. Then let's move to the next subtopic, the history of Montessori education. The history of Montessori education. The history of Montessori education. Montessori education, the history. Maria Montessori was the founder of Montessori education. So the founder of Montessori education is or was Maria Montessori. Montessori education began over 100 years ago in Rome. It began 100 years ago in Rome, precisely in Rome, that is in Italy. Maria Montessori was an Italian medical doctor, so she studied medicine, who was also an educationist. She did not stop as a medical doctor. She was also an educationist. Maria Montessori was born in the year 1870. She was born in the year 1870. She studied psychiatry and she also specialized in the education of mentally handicapped children, that's special education. She also specialized in the education of mentally handicapped children. Just special education. When you talk about special education, the dumb, the lame, the blind, all these are the handicapped children. So she studied education, mentally handicapped children. In 1900, she became the coordinator of a training institute for special education teachers. She became the coordinator of the training institute for special education teachers. There she experimented with teaching methods on children with mentally handicapped. She experimented on all these special children, students, and she discovered that mentally handicapped children could be helped to learn useful knowledge, which would make them to be useful to themselves and to the society at large. So she discovered that it's not only mentally okay learners that can learn, but equally the handicapped children can equally learn and become useful to themselves and to the society at large. That means that somebody cannot see does not mean the person will be begging in the street. She studied and discovered this. So she developed the Montessori approach. When she discovered this, she developed Montessori approach, which was proclaimed a success. It was proclaimed a success. So in January 6, 1900, 1907, Maria Montessori opened a child care center, children house. And in 1910, Montessori schools gained acclaim and popularity. So 1910, Montessori education became popular. She opened the first school, which she refers to as Children House. That was in 1907. Any question? I hope we are following. Then we move to the environment of Montessori. The environment of Montessori must possess this. That is, before you can say that this school is operating Montessori method of education, it must possess the following, which we are about to discuss. Then you will now discover whether truly Nigeria is operating Montessori education. Because you can see a lot of school bus written Montessori education, Montessori education, Montessori education. From now, you will know whether are we really operating Montessori education in our country. So these are the environment of Montessori education before you can that and hello? The environment of Montessori must possess this. The environment of Montessori must possess this. Number one, an arrangement that facilitates movement and activity. An arrangement that facilitates movement and activity. I mean, the environment where Montessori education is being located must be spacious, that it can allow free movement of the children. Free movement of the children. The children can be able to move freely and attend different activities. And he said it is Montessori education that allow students to play because this their level, because this level of these children is play well method. They'll be able to play and then learn freely. Number two, beauty and harmony, cleanliness of environment. Beauty and harmony, cleanliness of environment. The Montessori, the school that says operating Montessori must be beautiful with different colors. You don't paint Montessori school with one color. You don't. It will be painted with different attractive colors. So it will be shining, to be very attractive. In fact, looking at the building, the structure from afar, you'll be attracted to bring your children to the school. So the environment of a school that claims to be operating Montessori school must be very beautiful. The environment must be very tidy. It must be very clean, very neat. It must be very attractive. When you look, you will be attracted. No wonder people that have their school painted with different colors attract multitude of children. Of course, it will attract the parents to bring the learners to their school. Even when they don't have qualified teachers, only the structure alone is enough to bring many learners, that is the children, to the school. Another thing that a school that claims to be operating Montessori education must possess is number 3, construction in proportion to the child's needs. Construction in proportion to the child's needs. Construction in proportion to the child's needs and interests. That means the school will be constructed in a way to meet the child's needs and interests. The needs of the child must be put in place in that very school. There must be enough children to meet the interests. That means the school itself must be financially okay. For you to meet the needs of these learners, you must be financially balanced. Must be financially balanced. Then we move to the next environment and that the Montessori education must possess. Another one is limitation of materials. Limitations of materials, so that only material that supports the child's development is included. Limitation of materials. Limitation of materials, so that only material that supports the child's development is included. The materials that will be included in that very school is the only material that will support the child's learning. So it is limited. It is not open to any kind of material. You don't bring any kind of material, not the one that will destroy the future of the children. Only if it's CD, it will be the CD that will develop these children both physically, socially, cognitively. So there is highly limitation of what? Materials. Only those ones that will support the child. That is the only type of material that you will find in a school that claim to be adopting Montessori method of teaching. Another one is order. Another one is order. There must be orderliness in a school that claim to be operating or that claim that they're operating Montessori education. There must be orderliness. There must be orderliness. When you see the teacher, they are in order. They dress decently. Not anyhow. They dress decently like Montessori education teachers. looking at the children, they dress decently. When they are moving, they move in organized way. They move in an organized manner. When you look at most of the schools we are operating in our country, after the assembly in the morning, just tell them maintain a straight line for you. Some will target to be the first to be in the classroom or disorderliness. They start from that assembly ground, run to the classroom, and jumping inside the classroom, claiming I'm the first to enter. But in the Montessori environment, it can never be seen. It can never be done. The first day a child appears in a Montessori school, the child naturally will be taught how to be orderliness, how to be order. So as they finish assembly, they move decently, quietly to the classroom, and everyone will be seated in his or her own seat. So there is what? Orderliness in a school that claim to be operating Montessori education. And another one is nature in the classroom. Nature in the classroom. Nature in the classroom. Even in the outside the classroom. What do I mean? In a school that claim to be operating Montessori must have a nature corner. Not just nature corner. You have your nature corner, you have your shopping corner, you have your reading corner. When you look at the nature corner, you will see nature things placed at that corner that are what? That are there to meet the needs of the learners. You don't put any kind of explain, you don't put any kind of material there. You put only those things that will meet the learner's need. So when you look at the other corner, we see a shopping corner, just as a market. And those things that are placed at that side are the only things that will meet the interest and the needs of the learner. Also, you also see another corner that is a reading corner that maybe the time, leisure time, the break time, the child might feel like to study. He can just move to that side and study. So all these things must be found in a school that claim that is operating in Montessori education. There must be what? Number one, an arrangement that facilitates movement and activity. Number two, beauty and harmony, cleanliness of environment. Number three, construction in proportion to the child's needs. Number four, limitation of materials so that only material that supports the child's development is included. Number five, that's orderliness. Number six, there must be what? Nature corner in the classroom. I said it's not just only the nature corner. There must be shopping corner, and there must be leading corner. Any question? Our time is fast spent. I want to repeat the assignments I've given to you before we round up. I said send this assignment to setengoscecilia@gmail.com. Send this assignment to setengoscecilia@gmail.com. Number one, state 5 essential elements of Montessori education. State 5 essential elements of Montessori education. And 2, define Montessori education. Define Montessori education. Define Montessori education. Send to my email address, setengoscecilia@gmail.com. If you have any question, you can also send your question to setengoscecilia@gmail.com. So that is how far we can go for today's lecture. Next week, we shall be considering the characteristics of Montessori education, and we shall also be looking at educational practices on Montessori education. God bless you. Goodbye.